Okay, so if you don't want to be seen, feel free to turn off. But I am going to be actually going to the screen here, so you really won't be seen. Okay, so when we do things like crimping, we are using what's called beading wire. And beading wire comes in spools like this. It is not metal wire. It is very confusing for many people. So if you are confused, you're not alone. Beading wire is a flexible material. There is wire inside, and that's what allows it to drape. So, but what it is, it's very, very fine wires that are encased in a nylon shell. Okay, so, and then we use crimps to actually bend it around itself and hold those wires in place, just like that. Crimping, so the little bead is called a crimp bead. This one does not have a wire guardian, but a wire guardian, what it does, it goes around, it looks like a horseshoe, and it actually protects this nylon sheath. So let me do a demo. So what you need, of course, you need some wire cutters to cut the wire to whatever length you want. Actually, I have a piece already cut that is good for, I've got a 12-inch piece here that I can use for demos and for the whole day today. So there is my beading wire. I've got 12 inches. I'm going to move this up just a little bit more so you can see. Okay. You also need, as I say, crimp beads. And here we are. So crimp beads look very, very small. They are small. But you do, there is a relationship between the size of your crimp bead and the size of the wire. For medium weight wire, which is about 0.19 or 0.18 in diameter, and it's right there on your spool of what it is. There's a bit of a change between different brands, but that's, it's going to be either 0.019 or 0.018. And what I have found is that a 2mm crimp holds it best. Okay. The other thing you're going to need are wire guardians, and that's what looks like a horseshoe. And then a crimp cover. What does it look like in real life? Well, the crimp cover is right here. It gets bent down and it looks just like a bead. The crimp is inside of there. So the crimp cover hides any, maybe a really ugly crimp, but it's holding. Or you may not have the right color of crimp that you want. No one's going to know the difference because your crimp cover covers it. Your wire guardian is right here. And then your, I have actually used a split ring here. So that could either be your jump ring or split ring. And in this case, I've added chain to one end. So it's like an extender chain, which is really handy if you don't know, if you're making something and you have no idea how long they need it, you can add a little bit of length to it. Just to fancy up the chain, I used one of the beads in the neck, in the bracelet, put it onto a head pin and attached it, in this case, using a wrapped loop. So that's one end of my bracelet. The other end, again, I've got the crimp cover. Inside is the crimp, my wire guardian, which is going around, a jump ring, and to the jump ring, I have attached my lobster claw. So that is essentially how they work. And a bracelet is nothing more than a short necklace. You could do this with anklets, which is, just sized in between. You can also use this technique on other items. So here I've created this bracelet or this necklace. It's a very long necklace, almost like a lariat. And I've used a combination of techniques. So the stone here is called turritella, and that's all fossils. It's absolutely fascinating. So what I did was wrap them onto links. That's what these are. And then here I have used the crimping techniques just to create short lengths. And I've just joined them as shorter lengths for it. So I've done that near the top. And I've also done it near the bottom. And everything is attached through links and with this pendant at the bottom. So you don't have to do huge lengths of this. You can do smaller links or smaller lengths and link them together in various ways. Okay. So how do we get started? The other, what we're using today are crimping pliers. So these crimping pliers have two sections here. They sort of look like smiley faces. One's a little larger than the other. We're going to be using the middle one, which is a little bit smaller. And then the outside one here is more of an oval. Crimping is going to be two different actions. And so this is why there's two different shapes in our crimping pliers. So to get started, I'm sort of watching my board and watching the screen to make sure I'm not getting out of the screen. I'm just going to slide on my 2mm crimping bead. And I'm going to slide on my wire guardian. Now you'll notice that the ends actually are a little tube. So that's, you just put your wire through there. It can be a little tight, don't worry about it. Push it on through like that. There's my crimp bead. I'm going to bring it around. They are very small, which means my fingers can cover them easily. And the wire just goes down the other side. Find them in here. Okay, there it goes. Just through that tube. I'm just going to pull it through. You need about an inch overlap. Okay, you ideally want to have a little bit and the tail going into a bead. So, and then this bead, the crimping bead, is slid onto the tail as well. So that's what it looks like. Don't worry if your crimp bead does not go all the way up. It's not supposed to. It does need a little bit of give. So that's basically what it's going to look like. Now to crimp, you do want to make sure that your wires do not cross. So let them be side by side. And I actually like to separate them just a little bit like that. Now, on your crimping pliers, if you hold them in such a way that you see the channels on the bottom as opposed to the bumpy parts here at the top, then what you can do, you can actually see where you're placing it like that. Let me see if I can angle it so you see a little bit better. And then once it's in there, you can squeeze it. And what you get, you create a little divot inside of the crimp bead. Ideally with one wire on each end. If it doesn't happen, again, it's all practice. So that is been part one of the crimp. Now I'm going to turn the crimp sort of perpendicular to the pliers, and I'm going to put it into the first channel. And this first channel is simply going to bend those wires together. That is a crimp. Now, I want to make sure it's going to hold. So I just put my pliers, my round nose pliers in there, and I give it a pull. If it does not move, you've crimped it. It's perfect the way it is. If it doesn't look really pretty, don't worry about it, because your crimp cover is now going to cover like that. And I find this part is fiddly, and I find it easier just to hold it like this. So it's my thumb is securing it, and it's sitting on top of my forefinger there. And I've got too many things in front of me. Here we are, my other pliers. I'm using my bent nose. You can use chain nose, you can use flat nose. And I'm simply going to very gently begin to close it. And it's a good idea to go from different angles so that it closes the way you want it to. I'll warn you, if this doesn't close well, it's really, really, really hard to get it off without cutting it and doing it over. So this one wants to go a little sideways. Oh, come on, behave. We have an audience. As I say, you want to do this fairly gently. Little bits at a time, just like this. So you can see I'm just taking it from different angles because I want it to form what looks like a bead. That's closed. I haven't overly damaged anything, so that's crimped. Okay, so why don't you try yours? Let me know how it's going, because we're going to talk about design. It's actually what I will talk a little bit about design while you are doing your crimping. So just so, okay. So I did send everyone the 7 principles of design. And if you have not received it, let me know, and I will be sure to get those. This has been written by somebody from the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. They have some amazing resources on their website. So, you know, I couldn't write it better, so I did. I am distributing what they have. So you're looking at things such as balance. Is something balanced? And this does give you examples. You don't have to worry about that you follow everything. In fact, the more interesting pieces are where you break the rules, but it is important to know what the rules are. So I tend to go for things that are symmetrical. So for example, this is a piece that I've done. Let me zoom this up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So this is using a stitch called spiral rope. And a friend of mine actually does lamp working, and she created a bead. So I had commissioned her to do this bead, and I've got it balanced right in the middle. I even have these two end ladybugs in the same place. In fact, I think I have one there too. So it is symmetrical. The colors aren't necessarily symmetrical, but the elements are. So yeah, this
bracelet is looking beautiful.
Yeah, well, this is a necklace actually.
Beautiful. That reminds me of the spring garden flowers.
Yeah, that's actually a necklace. So this is an example of symmetrical balance. Everything is the same on either side. I also have a piece that I have not balanced. And where did it go? Best laid plans of mice and men. Where did they go? Well, I will find it. Okay, I know you're here because I pulled you out. Okay, well, I will find that, not to worry. So yeah, there is asymmetrical where you do not have to have everything lined up evenly on either side. Okay, so sorry, now it's bugging me because I know I brought it out. Hold on, I'll be right back. Do, 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 do. Okay, I have no idea where it's gone, but I know I had it out. So if I come across it, I will show you. So yeah, it doesn't have to be symmetrical. And sometimes the more interesting pieces are not. And this gives you a couple examples. So it could be your color that's asymmetrical. It could be the weight and the materials that are asymmetrical. So that is a little bit about balance. Again, this is very similar. I don't do a lot of these things, so I don't really have a example to show you, but this is very, very close to symmetrical and asymmetrical. So, you know, it's again, this is more asymmetrical. This is symmetrical. Okay, emphasis. That's where your focal is. Your focal doesn't have to be in the middle. Frequently it is. But it can be off. And you'll notice that a lot of these things sort of relate to each other. So this also gets into balance. If your focal is in the middle, it's more symmetrical. If it's off site or off to the side, it's asymmetrical. But there's usually a point of emphasis, some kind of a focal that is in your piece. It could be a pendant, it could be something. But it's you know, there's usually a focal point of something. Movement. Movement is fun. Okay, so for example, if you have something that moves, this is one that I've done. And again, this is one where I've just done a portion that has been crimped. So this portion is crimped. I've joined it to these shell pieces, and then this is crimped. So, but as you wear it, these shells move and you can hear it. And so movement, if you can incorporate movement in your pieces, that's great. So even in here, as you move it, these little flowers are not static. They will move. So that's a little bit about movement. Rhythm. Some of these are a little bit hard to explain or define, but you do want your eye to move along it. So if you have interesting elements throughout your pieces, you may focus first on here and then on here. So again, action, very like movement. Okay, proportion. You can have, you can use your element of the like a focal that can be quite large. And you don't have to keep everything bold or keep everything small. So when I saw this pendant, I thought, oh, that's cool. Nice and big. These are also big. These are chunky. As you can see in my hand, you know, these are like 2 fingers wide. So they're not small. And I needed something that would balance this, but also really give it a focal point. So this is the focal on this. Okay, contrast. This is where you're getting into some color. And you can use black and white. Black and white is so classic of what you can do. I've got a piece here. Okay, let me show you something that doesn't have a lot of contrast. So this is very monochromatic. Contrast is where you're using amazingly different colors in some kind of a combination. If I wanted to add contrast, this could be, I could have added the round beads in different colors, and that would give it contrast. So it gets into some color. And then is it unified? So in other words, do you carry a theme through it? The theme on this one, when I was making it, was natural elements. So it's a lot of wood. These happen to be peach pit pieces. Somebody had given me one of those very old hanging, what do you call them? Wall hanging dividers that was full of these peach pits. That had some bamboo in it. It had all these wooden beads, and it was absolutely filthy. So I spent an afternoon cleaning it, but the result were these amazingly textured pieces that you could use. And they were all drilled, which was great. I didn't have to do anything with it. So what unites your piece? Is it flowers? Do you carry the theme of flowers through it? Perhaps it's the color. Do you carry the color through it? So a little bit about that. And harmony. How do you get harmony? Well, sometimes harmony is in the color. Frequently, harmony is in the color. So this is a piece that I did. Again, spiral rope. What was inspired by it was a friend's lampwork bead. This is all glass, it's hollow. And I loved it. I love the colors. And so what could I do to create something that will go with it? So I created this. The stitch is called spiral rope. And I think it worked beautifully. I was able to pick up the colors, was able to do some danglies at the bottom here. So that gave me the movement. And it's all harmonized because I've carried through not just the color, but the fact that it's organic, the fact that it is the flowers and the leaves. So that's just some examples of how to help your jewelry perhaps do what you want it to do. Now, there's other things such as texture, color, and stuff. So this is a bracelet. The stitch is called brick stitch. And I have done the brick stitch around individual rings. And then I've joined all these pieces together. So it's harmonized through color, and it's got lots of texture on it, both from the different colors as well as these little sticky outy bits. And this is actually, it goes on like that.
And
Yes.
excuse me, but on the spiral necklace, what size were those seed beads?
This one?
Yes.
I was using size 11 seed beads throughout. Actually 11s and 8s.
Okay.
And on this one, which is also spiral rope, just to give you an idea of all the things that you can do, these are all the same size 11s, but I use different colors. Okay,
Thank you.
so texture. Does your piece follow any following the color wheel, for example? Or is it monochromatic? I tend to go a little on the monochromatic side. So something like this, or even this. This is one of my favorite pieces. Actually, that's backwards. So even though there's some color in here that gives accent, overall, it really is monochromatic. So spiral rope, this is another example. I got texture in it by sort of taking it up another level when I was doing the spiral rope and incorporating some beads that are triangular, which gave me a lot of texture. The inspiration for this was flowers. And so it's sort of, I wanted it to be organic. This is another example, the same technique, but using different beads. So there's lots of ways of incorporating. This is probably a little bit more along the color wheel, different shades of pink, plus getting into purple. So if you look at a color wheel, and many are introduced to a color wheel somewhere in the early grades, at least in the school when we did have an art class. It talks about 3 primary colors: red, yellow, blue. And then in between those, you mix your primary colors to get other colors: blue and red, purple. Green is made out of the yellow and blue. And then you have orange from yellow and red. And just so you know, if you mix all 3 primary colors together, you get brown. A really ugly brown, but you get brown. But so a color wheel is really quite an interesting thing to use. I don't think I sent you my color wheel, so I'll send you that information as well. And of course, if you add white to any colors, you get a tint. So pink is just red with white. Okay. If you add black, you get a shade or a tone. And so this is where you get your values of colors. And, you know, to talk about color theory, that would take into an entire thing. And I'm not totally qualified to talk about color theory. I did show you tell you about last week that if you do want help with color, go into your paint store and pull out some, I mean, those paint chips and those sample books, sample pamphlets are all free. And you can see how others have mixed colors. Take a look at your clothes, or look at a pair of curtains that have patterns in it. Those colors go together, and you can pull out any of those colors and translate it to jewelry. So, you know, you can get inspiration from fabric, certainly magazines, but anything like that. If it is in nature, it'll work as well. So, any questions about color design or anything like that? I really wish I could have found that other piece, because I was rather proud of it, because I never do something symmetrical or asymmetrical. So anyways, if I find it, I will show you to you at another class. So
Can I ask a question?
yeah, let me stop sharing so I can see where people are. Anyone have a question?
I do.
Yes, Judy. You're muted there.
Okay. As I squeeze my crimp.
Yeah.
they're breaking.
You're not
They're
supposed to break.
I know. I mean, they're old. But
Okay.
it's okay when I do the first squeeze, but when I try to do it perpendicular, it
That's when it's
breaks.
breaking.
Yeah,
I think you might need some new crimps.
they may be too big there. What are they? They're size 3 or something, and you said a size 2.
Yeah, try it with a smaller crimp.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes crimps come in packages. You don't know exactly what the size is, which is really frustrating because it is important what size the crimps are. I find if they come in little containers like this, and they tell you on the sizes, but on the containers they don't. Sometimes they do at the bottom. However, just label them with a little bit of tape and that, just so you know. So, and what they're referring to is the inside diameter. Okay, so not the outside, but the inside. So crimps do come in tubes or as tubular crimps like this, or they come round. Both are exactly the same. They do the same thing. I used a round one in the sample here. They're a little bit smaller. They'll fit into a crimp cover better. But the tube ones work just as well. Okay. So any other issues about Sharon, did you have a question there?
I do. Is there a trick to measuring, like if you have a piece, say, for argument's sake, 12 inches long?
Yep.
You want to have it kind of evenly distributed. Is there a trick to doing that when you're talking about symmetrical and asymmetrical?
What you can do is lay your pieces out in front of you. For example, let me just see, I don't have, okay. I was going to use this, so part of it is understanding how long you need it to be, and sometimes it's by guess and by golly. And sometimes you just have to do it multiple times. So there are bead boards available that you can lay things on. So when you get beads, and I've got some other beads here because I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. There it's the bead. Sorry, I had to, when you get to design, what do you want to do? So usually when you're designing something, you can do it on a board like this, or there are boards that have channels and that you can put it on. Yes?
I have one, and if you want, I can show it because
Yes.
that helped me a lot.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Katerina, thank you for the offer. Okay.
But let me put camera down.
Yeah.
Oh.
So these boards are available. Sometimes they're square like this one, or other times they're sort of an oval. They have an oval bottom.
I have one.
Yeah, this is for bracelets. This one is for bracelets, and I just bought it from Michael's, and it's $5 and so good service.
I was at Michael's yesterday, actually, looking for some containers and storage containers, and I saw them and I thought to myself, what the heck would you use those for, and walk by them? But maybe I'll go back.
Yeah.
Pam, it's Debbie. If you want to just have a quick look at my screen, I got this $11 off Amazon.
Okay, let me find you.
And it's for
here.
necklaces. Yep.
Yeah,
you can use it for necklaces.
That's what I was referring to.
Saw.
That's what I was referring to.
Yep.
Yes.
It was $11 on Amazon, and it comes with a lid so that if you're actually in the process of making something and you want to travel somewhere, the clear lid goes on top and it keeps everything in place.
Yeah. So if you can see there at the bottom, at the center, it says 0. So that would be your center, and then you can build out from there. And the numbers along the side will keep it centered. So for example, you see the number 4. That would be 4 inches from the center. 4 plus 4 equals 8. So far that would be 8 inches wide. So, and you can extend it up the side to a length that you want.
So they've put the measurement in to
They
accommodate.
put,
for a bird.
yes, yes.
Very clever.
Yeah, no,
It's
they work
so
really
easy
well.
to use. I love this thing. I am so
Yeah.
glad I bought it.
Yep, thank you.
I
Okay,
will look. Thank you.
perfect.
Welcome.
Yeah, so yeah, there are things out there. You can also make your own as well.
Uh,
Yeah,
can I show this? I try to make this.
yeah, go ahead. Okay. Is it
This.
holding?
Yes.
Perfect. Then you've done it well. That looks just what you want. Now, have you used wire or beading wire?
Beading wire.
That it's very stiff. Is it like, can you bend that? So it is beading wire.
Yeah.
It's flexible. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
The shine on it was looking like metal wire. So no, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So Sharon, let me see. Bear with me for a moment. Okay. Spotlight you. So that looks good. Okay.
The first one came totally off, so obviously I didn't crimp it properly.
That's okay.
And I, rather than battling with trying to undo the cover,
Uh-huh.
I just started fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's the easiest thing. So if you test it before you put the crimp cover on,
Yeah.
it makes it easier.
I forgot to do that.
That's okay. That's okay.
I learned my lesson.
Not to worry. Okay, so it's now time to do some design work. And this is where it's fun to have a stash of beads. I have decided that my theme is going to be black and red. So I've got, hold on, and I always forget to share. So my theme is going to be black and red. You can buy beads all over the place, okay? Bead stores, Michael's, even going to some of the stores like Ardennes or Claire's. Their stuff, it's seasonal, not particularly well made, but it's only meant to last about 6 weeks. You can go there and buy it, cut it apart and redesign it. So this is what's good to have a stash of things. And by a stash, I just mean beads that you can pull from. And I divide things down, these kinds of beads, I divide it down by colors. So all of my red beads sort of go into a red box. My black beads go into a black box. And I sort of break it up that way. My seed beads are totally different, but that's okay. We won't get into that. But you can mix and match your materials as well. So these are actually plastic. You know, they're fine. They look fine. You know, this I got on a string from a bead store that I visited, and I had all these on a strand, which is great. I know they're already quiet, Indy. I know that they go together. I may not want a couple of these beads in it. You know, these don't interest me. So I'll just set them aside. Maybe there'll be something else in something. This is something I got at Michael's. It was on clearance. Great price for $3. This looks like what's called cinnabar. Cinnabar is a very, very, very old material. It's actually the byproduct of some of the metal when they're doing smelting and that. This is actually a byproduct. This is fake. This is not real cinnabar. It's fake. But real cinnabar is actually very toxic, and you can only wear it for a few hours at a time. So if you can find something that looks like cinnabar, beautiful. It's not toxic. But what's nice about it is that has this carved nature in it, which is what a lot of the original cinnabar looked like. So this will give you texture and a lot of interest. And it plays off well if your other beads are maybe a little bit more plain or have simple facets. You know, in my stash, I also had, this is Riverstone. You can buy it by the strand, 8 millimeters, and it was a full strand of stuff. And I'm going to choose some of these. So how do I design? Well, at this point, I'm just going to cut this. taking care not to cut there. I do want some kind of a focal. This was part of the original. I like it. It brings in the color silver, a metal bead. I also have in my stash some other beads, silver and, you know, these are glass Cheerio beads and some fire polish, 4 millimeters. All of these can be used as spacers between beads. So and think of this simply as playing with your beads. Okay, so this is not rocket science. This is not going to end the world if you don't have the right design. There is no right design. So I'm going to start with a center bead like this. I like that. I want some contrast. So as I say, I like symmetry. This has got some texture on it. Let's reinforce some texture by putting a couple of the cinnabar looking ones. And I've already got some black shine there. Let's pull a couple of these river rocks out. Let's cut this. I try to leave things on strands if I can, that way I have the label. If I can't do that, then I put them into a bag and put the label inside of it. And, you know, if you go to a bead store and you get all these little small bags, hold on to them, because just rip the label off and they're perfect to store things into. And with the label, you know exactly what they are. So I'm going to take off a couple of these and put them to the side. Okay, I'm kind of liking that, but I need something bright in between. So let's put a silver there and there. Again, I like my symmetry. So at this point, I'm just playing a little bit of shine because I've broken up some shine with some matte there. Let's see, what else have I got to play with? I think I'm going to repeat these. Now, I have no idea how long this is going to be because it is bunched out. So let's just put a little thing there and there. And I'll start and end with that. I might add something in there. I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to see how this looks like and what the length is on a bracelet. So I'm now going to put it all onto my beading wire. Now this little part that's sticking out, you know it's going to hold because you've tested it. If this ever slips, you do have a little bit of grace before it falls apart, if it ever slips. So if possible, put your beads over that. They don't regulate the size of the bead holes, just the outside. So sometimes the bead holes tend to be very small and it doesn't accommodate it. But this is allowing me. And also make sure that the tip goes in. You'd be surprised how many times I've finished it and I have a tip sticking out of of whatever I've made. And it's like, no, I don't want it like that. So just take a few extra minutes, make sure the tip goes in there. So I'm just going to put all this onto my piece. Again, get that tip in there. Is it going to fit? Yes. So at this point, go ahead and start designing what you want.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Sorry, did I hear somebody have a question?
Yeah, it's Jennifer.
Yes, Jennifer.
And how did you predetermine the length?
Usually if I do a pre-cut, I usually work directly off of the spool. Depending on what you want, if I pre-cut something for students, I allow about 12 inches of wire for the bracelet. you do want a little bit of wire on either end so that you're not fighting such a short piece.
Right.
So if you're wanting to do a necklace, I would do it directly onto here. So I would,
Without
actually
cutting.
start,
Right.
yeah, I would actually start putting things right on here to see what my length is. Then I would crimp it. If I'm happy with it, then I would find the other end, take it off and crimp that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so my cinnabar pieces. So that's what it's, and I say, it's going to keep coming out, but once it's done, it'll stay in place. Okay, so I'm just putting things on. I have no idea how long this is going to be. For myself, I have about a 6 1/4 inch wrist. So I know that 7 inches is not a bad length for me, but that's a finished length. So, and that I have to consider how long my clasp is. And I will explain that to you as well. Okay, then I've got this. Okay, so there's all my beads strung on there. I'm happy with that. It follows my natural symmetry. I like the distribution of color. Now, is it long enough? I don't know. Let's find out. So I tend to just wrap it around my wrist and see where it falls. That's not bad. It's going to be a little on the short side though. Okay, I know that I'm going to use a, sorry, I'm doing two things at once. I'm going to be using lobster claws and jump rings. And you do need to account how long that's going to be. So for example, here to here is not part of this measurement. This measurement is part of the overall. So this is, I did have everything here, including a ruler. This is about that's about 1 1/4 inches, a little over 1. And so I need to account for that in this length. Okay. And also the bigger the beads you use, the more it's going to stick out from your wrist, which means it's going to be a little longer than you expect. Bracelets are among the hardest things to do because it is such a precise measurement. Too long, it could fall off your wrist. Too short, it's going to be a little tight. So I found my ruler. This length is 1 1/4 inches. So if I allow 1 1/4 inches to here, I think it's going to just fit. So I do want to make it just a little bit longer. What can I do? Well, I didn't put any spacers there and I didn't put a spacer there. So don't worry, just take it out and you can add something. So where did those other beads go? Oh, I'll just add a couple of these. And you can double up on your spaces, of course, like that. And then I'm going to put these back on. I know it's tempting to buy things. Okay, I'm going to put a spacer there. Sort of tempting to buy things only by the project. And that is, it's not totally realistic. So you are going to, oops, no, I don't want that there. It doesn't hurt to build a stash. And only you can know how much of a stash you want. So, and I will admit that stashes can get out of control. Because all you have to do is visit my 1-bedroom apartment and see how a stash can take over a 1-bedroom or a living room of a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. So when you're looking for storage, storage is probably the hardest thing to figure out how to do it, what works best for you. And it's one of those things, it does not, one size does not fit all. That's something you have to find out for yourself. I do tend to, let's see where I'm at here. Okay. Trying to talk and design at the same time. I do have sort of these little pull-out drawers that I put odds and ends of beads, like all my red beads in, all of my, I divide it down by colors such as clear, white, pink and red, orange, yellow and gold is in one, cream or natural, brown. And it's amazing how many shades of brown there are. Then you can get into blue, turquoise, green, then violet or purple. Okay, that's 2. Wait a minute. Oh, just 1. And then black. So that is one way of storing these larger kind of beads. For my seed beads, I also divide it down by color, but in a different format. Okay, so there is my revamped. I've added a little bit more spacer, so it does bring up a little bit more silver, which does coordinate quite well with this. So just take it around my wrist. That's better. It's a little bit closer, and that extra 1 1/4 that my clasp will give me ease as well. So let me talk about ease. When you have something flat, it's really tempting to say, okay, now I'm going to do it really nice and tight. If you've ever had the experience of buying something where you've bought it flat and then you try to bend it and it doesn't want to bend in a circle, that's because there's not enough ease in it. So instead of holding it tight, I'm going to bend this so that it creates a circle. There is no gaps anywhere. So I know that's going to bend. I'm going to hold it where it was, and you'll be amazed how much space turning it into a circle took. So I have there almost 1/8 of an inch, if not a little bit more. So yeah, that's 3/16 of an inch. And that's how much of the beading wire it took to bend this into a circle. So let me show you this again. I'm going to take this, put it into a circle. Everything is nice and snug. You don't see any gaps. I'm going to straighten it out. And there is what was left over. So you do need to allow some space to put it into a circle. Okay. How's everyone doing so far? Doing well?
Yep.
Good. Any questions? Speak up. Okay, I'm going to continue. So now we're ready to crimp the other side. Okay, so let's
Pam,
move-
I have one quick question, if I may.
Yes.
So I've noticed sometimes when you have a bracelet that has bigger beads on the top, it tends to be top heavy, so it's always slipping around the bottom of your wrist.
Yes.
Have you got that? Do you know what I'm talking about? And
Yes.
is there a solution for that?
Not really. Sometimes it's if your bracelet's a little bit looser, then you can. That's when it slips more. So if you make your bracelet with a little less ease or a little less space so it sits closer to your wrist, then that will help. Yeah,
Or
it's just,
how about adding a charm or something on the bottom that's heavy, perhaps?
yeah,
Or
that'll work if you
is that a
balance the
thought?
weight out a little bit more.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Good question. Thank
Super.
you. Okay, so let me just, okay, so just so you can see my board here. Okay, so I am ready to crimp this end, and we're going to do the exact same thing with a couple of minor changes. So there's my crimp bead, my crimp cover, and a wire guardian. Just one wire guardian. Okay. Okay. So first of all, make sure this other end is tucked in. Yes, it is. Let me zoom in so you see a little bit better. So this side is a little bit harder to see as you're doing things. But you, just like before, you slip on your crimp bead first, put on your wire guardian. Some people don't like wire guardians because it does create a bigger loop on the end. You do run the risk. I mean, it's your choice what you use. Okay, there's get my this back. Now, initially, yes, we do have to bring this down a little bit. So I'm just going to pull it through just a little bit here. But I'll show you a quick and easy way of getting it further. Okay. So I've got my wire, the end of the beading wire going through the crimp right there. Okay, I do need to close up this space. So an easy way to do it, think of it as a pulley. Put your round nose pliers in there and give the end a tug. And normally there it goes. As I say, you don't want this really tight because you do need some ease, and the bigger the beads you use, the more ease you need. So yes, I'm leaving a gap about like that because and I want to make sure that it goes into a circle. So when it goes into a circle, lo and behold, that gap is gone. Okay. People say, I don't want that gap to show, and it won't when you're wearing it. Okay, so let's make this straight again. So there's my gap that I need to leave. I'm making sure as best I can my wires are laying side by side. And ideally, this should be inside here, just a little ways. Okay, there's my gap. And this is, I'm making sure as best I can that the wires are laying side by side. Grab my crimp cover, my crimp beads, channel side down so you can see where you're placing it. It's fiddly. Okay, it's in the channel I want it to be. I'm going to squish it down. And there you can see how it actually folds it in half. There it's folded in half, now perpendicular. As I say, it's fiddly, and fold those two halves in half. If you have a pair that the hole or the gap is quite big in your crimping pliers, it does not hurt to sort of give it an extra squish with the ends, just squishing them together. Okay, so sometimes the gaps or the holes that they create in the less expensive pairs of crimping pliers are a little big, and you don't get a good crimp or closure. So just give it a little extra squish there. Again, I'm going to test it. That's not going to move. So that effectively is crimped. I'm going to put on my crimp cover. There it is. And again, holding it. Very fiddly stuff. Just trying to position it so the crimp cover sits on my finger. Come on. There we go. So it sits on my finger and I'm going to hold it like that. Grab my pliers. Again, any your flat nose, chain nose or bent nose. Flat nose actually has a little bit more surface, and very gently. Oh, this one wants to behave better. Good. And I'm just going to take it from different angles just to help it form a circle. What looks like a closed bead. Okay. That's done. And yes, don't worry about that gap because when you wear it, it's all closed up. Now, I do have a piece of wire sticking out. So I'm going to take your cutters and cut nice and close. Make sure you're cutting the right wire. Trust me, I've done it. There. So that's what was left over out of 12 inches. There I have it. Now I could turn this. This is a bracelet, yes. However, if I wanted to, I could turn this into a necklace. And to do that, all you need is some chain. And I'm just going to find my chain here. Okay. So to join this to anything, I'm going to use 2 jump rings. Remember, jump rings are your connectors. And I'm going to use, where'd they go? 6mm jump rings. And open and close the jump rings. We'll just review that. Now, instead of jump rings, yes, I could use split rings here as well if I wanted to, if I felt that it needed it. I had a friend who I would make jewelry for, and she liked sterling silver. Sterling silver is quite soft, so it moves quite, it can bend quite easily. And her jump rings were always coming undone. And I'm thinking, what's happening? What I did not realize was that she had arthritis in her shoulders. So as she was taking on or putting on the jewelry, she would tug on the jump rings, and which naturally opened them. So I did switch to split rings for her, and she didn't have any further problems. So to open and close a jump ring, you have the opening at the top, pliers on either side, bring one part toward you, one part away. You never undo the roundness. So this is basically, you've created a hook and you put it on there. If it was a bracelet, I would add my clasp to it as well, such as a lobster clasp. But this time, I'm going to turn this into a bit of a necklace. So I've got a bunch of chain here. Okay, this is chain that actually I got. It comes in a 72-inch thing from Michaels. It's nice and chunky, and I think it'll balance this quite well as opposed to using a very fine chain. So add that to the jump ring. Now, how much chain should I use? Well, it all depends on how long you want your necklace to be. So this, let me grab my ruler here. To measure this, is about 7 1/8 inches. If I want something that is totaling, let's say 20 inches, That'll sit fairly close to my neck. So 20 inches, let's round it down. I've already got 7 inches. Half of 20 is 10. So I would need about 3 inches or so of chain. And that would give me a total of 20 inches. So that would be the 7 plus 6 is 20. Yeah, 20, let's do that. Okay. So well, let's make it a little longer. Let's make it 3.5. At that point, you can trim your chain. And we'll add the same amount of chain to this side. And what we'll do, here's my jump ring. Open the jump ring the same way. One part toward me, one part away. Add that. And the ring, okay, so that's joined. I've joined chain to both. A quick and easy way. You can count the number of links, or you can just, these are nice big links so I can sort of see better. Trim at that link, okay. Cut this. Again, all these little pieces, don't let them get onto your carpet because you will step on them. Again, personal experience there. Okay, so there is my necklace. I'm just going to do an overview measurement, make sure I've got it the way I want it to. So I was looking for about 20 inches, so. Or it'll be a little longer than that. So tape measure. Oh, it's not even close. It's 14 inches. That's way too short. So I'm not going to cut more chain. I am going to actually add something to this. And I think this is where I will bring these 2 beads in. And I'm going to grab some wire. And I'm going to use some 20 gauge as soon as I find it here. Here's 20, 20 gauge wire. I'm going to incorporate these along the chain. So to do that, I need a little bit of wire. I have no idea how much. I'll cut about that much. So this is where you turn a miscalculation and into something a little different. I could take the chain off and save it for something else, but I'm not going to. Okay. I'm going to put this on here and just create simple loops to finish it. So easiest thing to do is to first create a simple loop. I'm going to do a sharp bend. I've got enough wire there. Again, simple loop. My hand, you see the back of my hand. It's going to grasp the wire along here, however big you want that ring or loop to be. You can mark your pliers if you want so that your loops are always the same size. I'm going to hold this wire in place so it doesn't move. This pliers, I'm just going to roll like that. Now I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, you're going to do the opposite of me. Okay, so just rolling it away as far as I can. And that's what it creates. You're letting the pliers do the work. got a little bit of a gap there, so I'm just going to turn it around and bring it down. Okay. Now let's put this on. That's done. So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to give it a sharp bend like that. I just bent it against the bead. If you're using crystal, don't do that because you can crack the crystal. It can even crack glass. So this is plastic. I wasn't too worried about it. I'm going to trim to the length I want, which is about roughly 3/8 of an inch or a centimeter. You get used to what it looks like. And I'm ready to do this. Notice it's going to go in the same direction as the other loop. So I'm going to hold this just like I did before so that the end of the wire faces me. I'm going to grab it in the same place. And again, hold this nice and firm and roll my pliers. Sometimes it slips off like that. Don't worry, just put it back on and roll it. And there it is. And again, just adjust it so it's closed like that. Now I want to attach my wire, attach this to here. I'm going to open and close it just like I did with jump rings. Okay, so the part that's not going through is here. I'm going to hold this and bring this part toward me. So it opens like a hook, just like I did with the jump rings. And this will now slip on here. Now I'll have to add a little bit of chain to the other side to get to the length I want, but let's redo it with this other piece. So first I'm going to do another simple loop. So there's the amount I want to leave, a nice sharp bend. No one is going to come and measure the size of your loops. So if it's not perfect, no one's going to notice. And I'm simply going to roll that away from me. And there is my loop. Again, slip on my second bead. I'm going to bend it against the bead because this is a plastic one. I'm going to trim it. Again, to that 3/8 of an inch or centimeter, which is a pretty good size for simple loops, like that. Don't let your wire go flying. And then grab my round nose pliers again. Okay, grab it. This is going to roll and this hand is going to hold it in place. This is practice. I'm not going to lie. This is all practice. If it doesn't come completely together like that, don't worry. Take it toward you so you can see what you're doing and just roll it down. Okay, if it's lying a little flat, that's okay. Just straighten it up. Okay, again, I'm going to open this. I'm going to grab the side that's not going through the bead and bring the whole thing towards me so that it opens like a hook. And I'm going to attach this to the other piece of wire. Okay, so let's do another measurement so I know how much. Okay, so hold on, let me just move this out of the way. I can't move my camera any further up, but this whole thing now measures 15.5 inches. So I'm going to cut 2 more 3-inch pieces of chain, which will take me just a little bit beyond the 20 inches. And as you can see, sometimes your workspace gets very dirty, but that's, hey, it just, so 3 inches for my cutters. I know they're here somewhere. Trouble is all, oh, right in front of me. Everything has a blue handle. So, okay, so 3 inches. I'm just going to go to the link on the other side of the mark. Okay. Measure the same off. Okay, so as I say, no one is going to come and measure your links. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Okay, so that should make my necklace the right size. Again, I'm going to join here, looking for the side that is not going through the bead, which is right here. Grab that, bring it toward me. There's my hook. And just like that, I've attached the other piece of chain, closing it up again, making sure there is no gap. If you find there's a gap, you could put the tip of your pliers back in and just sort of roll it a little bit so that the gap is going to keep it from falling out, or the gap will cause it to fall out rather. Okay, again, yeah, this side, open it like a hook, pop it on, and close it up, taking out any gap. Okay, that's now long enough. So the back part here will be behind me. You won't see this, but you know, it was a way to extend it. So now we need to join these pieces together. So with that, again, we've got, let's do a couple of jump rings. We're going to use that one to attach to the for the lobster clasp, and I'm going to grab a bigger jump ring just so it's a little easier to find it when you are putting your necklace together. So I'm going to actually use a larger jump ring. I'm going to use a 9mm, which is honking big, but you won't have a problem finding it. Of course, you can use the same size. Okay, and then my clasp, like that. Always a good idea with some of these clasps is just to check them, make sure they work well. Yep, it does. Okay, so to finish this, again, opening and closing my jump rings. There, on the smaller one, I'll attach the clasp, close it up again. And again, you could use split rings for this if you wanted a little more security. And here, I'll use the bigger jump ring. Opening and closing it like a hook. Fortunately, this I didn't even check first, but this was big enough to accept the larger jump ring. And you can wiggle this back and forth and push it at the same time. And that will, you know, get things a little bit closer and remove any gap that might be there. Okay. So that piece could have been a necklace or a bracelet. It still can be by taking this off and adding a clasp. Or you could convert a bracelet sized piece into a necklace doing that. So let me just zoom out and there's the piece. Okay. I'm going to stop the sharing. So let's do a show and share. Okay, let me just take down the participants. Okay, so let me just take this down. Let's go. Dessa, do you have anything you'd like to show and share?
Not
Okay.
I did this part.
Okay, let
Are
me
you seeing
spotlight
it?
you. Okay, up a little higher. Okay, so you've got your crimp happening.
Yes. And I got my clasp and my lobster clasp and the jump ring,
Okay.
but I haven't done the bead.
Okay. Well,
But
then
I
that's
will
maybe
do it the next class.
next class we'll do a show and share.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But I
Perfect.
have a question.
Yes.
If I'm using these clasps,
Yes.
do I use should I do the same crimping process?
I would add them. I would you would do the same crimping process, but I would join it to the clasp with a jump ring.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason, let me just spotlight you again here. The reason I would do that, the reason I like to use jump rings, especially in a bracelet, is that where's mine? Okay, if this ever got caught on anything, okay.
I'm not seeing
And
you.
Okay, let me spotlight, or let me share. I used to work at Bloorview Children's Hospital. It's now called something else. But if you ever got your bracelet caught on something, the jump ring will give way so that it doesn't hurt your wrist.
Okay.
Okay. So by the same token, if your necklace caught on something, it'll let go without hurting you. So yes, my bracelet, quote unquote, is broken. However, all it is the jump ring that came loose. And I just need to replace the jump ring. I don't have to visit a hospital to say my wrist is hurt.
Okay.
So that's why I like to use a jump ring somewhere in there just to let it go loose. Okay, and that's an easy fix. All I have to do is add a jump ring to there. Now, when I pulled, this side has a split ring, and you can see it did pull the split ring as well. So a split ring will not let go, but it will loosen. So that'll be replaced as well. But it's a quick and easy fix for the bracelet. Your wrist is fine. Okay. So
Okay.
good.
And
Hold on. Okay. So any other questions, Dessa?
That's it for now.
That's it for now. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Let me go back to gallery.
I put this together.
Okay. Let me spotlight you so we can see. Yeah, lift it up. Oh, very classic Southwest. I love it.
Me too.
Beautiful, yeah.
But
Very cool.
I used a magnetic clasp.
Yep.
And boy, that opens really easily. I'm going to have to change that somehow.
Yeah, some magnets are stronger than others, and depending on the weight of the materials, can prevent it from staying closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the colors in that. That's gorgeous. Good. Okay, so let me go back to gallery so I can see everybody. Saida.
Yeah, I made a bracelet.
Ooh.
And it's little tighter, but next time I will make more better.
Okay. Well, you can add a little bit of chain on one end.
Okay.
And then that'll be like an extender chain.
Okay.
Good.
Right now, whatever available, I just use that stuff.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Who else have we got here? Debbie, are you able to show us what you've made? Not yet?
Still fumbling along, but almost done. I put a focal bead in the middle.
Yep.
And I've got my clasps on the end, and I'm now adding a little tassel at the bottom so that it will hopefully counteract it. I might cut the tassel a little shorter because it's quite long. But yeah, just trying to keep the bead on top, right? The
Yep,
focal bead.
yeah.
from
So if it's a
sticking out.
little tighter, then maybe you're used to wearing it, it'll stay in place a little bit better as well.
I like a tight bracelet.
You like it tight, then
Actually,
you should be okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like the stretchy ones best. They're
Well,
my
they're so
favorite.
easy to take on and off, right?
Oh, I just love it because there's no fumbling with the silly latches, right? So
yeah,
I make millions of these with the lava beads.
Oh, that looks wonderful.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. See how many ideas there are out there. Okay, Marcia.
So I put together this. Where were we?
Yeah, right. Go ahead straight.
So this
Okay.
includes a button, but true to form, even though I tugged on it at the beginning to make sure that it was tight enough, I finished my bracelet and one end pulled apart.
Okay.
The crimp
Okay.
pulled apart.
Yep.
So I
Okay.
get to do it again.
That's okay. That's called practice.
It's I really want to get this down because consistently, like the last 10 pieces that I've made have all broken.
Okay, possible. What kind of a crimping pliers are you using?
Well, I don't know the answer to that in words, but
Okay, so the hole might be a little on the big side.
the whole of the pliers.
The hole of the pliers.
Of the
So it may not be giving you a really tight crimp. What you can do is give it a little extra squeeze with the tip of the pliers.
I'll try that.
Yeah.
I have tried doing that and the crimp broke.
Yeah, the crimps break.
Yeah.
And I had the same problem too. And Marcia and I have the same crimping pliers, I think, because we bought two,
Uh-huh.
one for each of us. And I wonder if it's the pliers, but I also notice if you only mash it one way, it does seem to stay.
Okay.
I rather than try to mash it, it's the second mashing tends to
break.
not work.
Yeah, the
Okay.
second mashing mashes it. Anyway,
Exactly.
It sounds like it might be the crimps. Depending on where you get them, the crimps can be less pliable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay.
however, I did like the bracelet in that I used the beads that are square.
Uh-huh.
The beads that are stone, but in between I used I think it's the Yaki beads.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I got a bit of pink glitter going on in between.
Good.
I liked it until it broke.
Yeah, you might have to invest in a few other crimp beads. I know the ones that, like sometimes if they come from some of the offshore places, they're just not quite as pliable. So, yeah.
I do have a set of crimp beads that came from China, but I have other crimp beads.
Okay.
I guess I should just practice with crimp.
Yep.
That's all.
Just go ahead and practice. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so Joni and Bridget, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Let's see, we made,
Oh, let me spotlight. Hold on.
there you go.
Very
Oh.
nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And Bridget did one too. Where are we?
Okay. Very cool.
Leftover beads.
It
Oh,
doesn't
there are
take
so many leftover beads. Brother.
leftover beads are fine. Don't worry about leftover beads. It's called a stash. You'll find use for those. Actually, any leftover beads that you have, make great earrings because you only need 1 or 2 beads for earrings per ear and you'll be all set. Okay.
Right.
So let's see who else we've got. We've got Krista. Do you have anything to share, Krista?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh,
Okay,
I've got you pinned. Let me just get you spotlighted instead.
Um,
So I actually hit the wrong button here. Spotlight. Okay, I see you.
I was having a hard time with the crimping, but it kind of like worked out in the end.
Okay.
So I made,
Ooh.
like a little like bracelet thing.
Oh, now what are you using in the center? It looks like a large form.
Yeah, it was just like I just stringed it with 2 strings, so
Okay.
I could make like this thing.
So it stretches a little bit.
Yeah.
Very cool. See, I mean, there's no limit to the amount
Yeah.
of things that you can do. That's the thing I love about jewelry making, that there is no limit. If you can think it, you can do it. Seriously, you just, yes, there is some technical stuff there, but imagination really is what's really necessary. And imagination comes from looking at things. Okay, Katerina, are you able to share?
I was muted, so I couldn't say anything. Okay, I just finished something, and my friend wanted for her friend something with flowers.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
I just did.
So you've got oh, I like those. They've got flowers on the beads.
In
Yeah.
the beads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know from where they
They
are,
look
but
like
she
they're
want,
painted or something. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
beautiful.
and she wanted something like golden and stony
Yeah,
and flowery.
I think you've got it. I think you've got it.
So I tried. Let's see if it's a good size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie.
Yeah. So what Katerina is using there is what's called a toggle clasp. And it is easy to do up. You slip the bar part inside of the loop part. It can take a little practice. And if it's too loose, it can be a little less, a little less secure, but it's a very pretty way of doing it. So, okay. So, just like that. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Katerina. Okay. Oops. Okay, so let's see who else we've got here. Elena, anything you'd like to share with us?
There, I unmuted. So I made this bracelet. I don't know, can you see? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's from beads I bought yesterday at Bead Effects.
Yeah.
There was this like spools of strands of red
Yes.
beads.
Yes.
And I also had some of these brown beads, kind of like this one and then that one
Mhm.
from before. And I added this little silvery centerpiece.
Yeah.
I found that the hardest part for me was to kind of keep the rhythm going, but at the
Yes.
same time make it the right length.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like poetry, like you need to make a certain hexameter or something,
Yep.
and like kind of. So I had to undo and redo quite a few times.
Yep.
To get to the length that is, agreeable.
Yep. Quite common.
It's so much fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quite common. So good. Thank you. Okay, so let me go back to gallery. Chloe, can you show what you've been working on? You'll have to turn your video on.
Yeah, I haven't made anything yet.
Okay.
But
Okay, no problem. So maybe next week you can show us what you do.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Chloe, please remember you've given me your email address, but if you've been getting the emails, then I must already have an email address for you.
No, I don't think I've been getting the email.
So you haven't been getting anything either?
No.
Okay. Okay. Can you put your phone number into the chat for me? Just so I have it in case I need to reach you outside of email.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've done Marsha. Who have we got here? Joan. Anything you'd like to share with us today?
I
Oh, you're on your view. Okay.
don't know. Let's see. How do I change my view?
You can go up. Depends on the device you're on.
That.
No. Okay, you're playing. That's the mute button. So the one that's right beside it looks like a camera. You probably have a line going through it, which means your video is off. If you click on that, then your video will be on and I should be able to see you.
Yeah, so you at my front door?
No,
Okay, I'll open the front door.
it moved.
Meet you.
Okay, I'll let you figure that out. And I'll come back. I'll just go through some other people here. Sharon, Anything you'd like to share? You're on mute.
Sorry, Maggie was contributing to the conversation.
That's
So
okay.
I watched you as opposed to doing anything, so I'll show you next week.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Keisha, I see you're busy working there. Anything you can share with us? I see a whole wrist of jewelry sitting there. Keisha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just
Anything?
made a necklace and some earrings, and now I am making this bracelet. Take a look.
No,
Wow.
this is the necklace. I don't know where's the camera, Kish?
Right about here.
Yeah, I see the bottom of the necklace. Very cool. Now those are those same cheerleading colors, aren't they?
Yes, that's so
is. That's
Very
because
cool.
I love cheerleading in my
This is the
spare
earring.
Good.
And she is doing
the bracelet
the
kind.
bracelet.
Oh, very nice. Good
Yeah.
for you. Okay.
Now,
Thank you, Keisha.
Now, better make sure we have everything.
Yeah, I'm going to be going through everybody. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, so Nellie, anything you'd like to share? Okay, you're on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got, I finished this one.
Okay.
That's really nice.
I decided to put these little kind of airy
Yeah,
things that just
yeah.
have some movement in it.
I love it.
Well, thanks. And I'm working now, I'm trying to experiment with this too, making some more stuff with movement in it.
I like it. That has a lot of texture to it as well.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of playing around with things that might have different texture and
Yeah.
movement. Yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so Fred, what would you like? Do you have anything to share with us today?
Yeah, actually, I've started something, but I was unable to finish it.
Okay.
I followed all your steps, but I was like lost.
That's okay. That's okay.
So this is what I have.
Oh,
That's nice.
So it's I've started with this. So basically everything is good.
Yep.
And then so it's a mixture of here it's plastic, a plastic pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if you know about the akik, the Egyptian akik.
No, is it a stone? Okay.
Yeah, so two different types of stones here. The black one is called black akik, and then the red one.
Oh.
And I managed to start with this as well at the very end.
Yep.
And that's it for now. Maybe after looking into the recording videos, maybe I should be able to put things together and finish it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love seeing everybody's ideas and their colors. Okay, so Lisa, anything you'd like to share with us?
Sure.
Ooh, color, lots of color.
Yeah, I'm big on color. It's too it's too long, and I keep taking it out, making it shorter, and it's still too long.
It's still too long. Well, think about, you could make that as an anklet.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, you could make it as an anklet or attach something to it and turn it into a necklace.
Yeah, I'm not sure I love it. I might still take some of the beads out, but at least I figured out how to do.
Yeah, the crimping. Yeah, that looks great.
And I'm wondering too, because with the bracelets, I really do prefer, someone else had said like this, using a stretchy, just you can put it on and off. How would you, if this was on instead of wire, how would you still do the crimping with the wire guardian?
No. What you would do is knot it together. You would put it on and then knot it. And let me see where I can maybe add that. Actually, I should be able to add that to next week's class, just to show you how to do a knot. Okay.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so who have we got here? Let me go back to gallery. Who have an item? Okay, and Kathy.
I didn't make anything today, but
Okay.
show something I made previously.
Perfect. Okay, let me go back to gallery because I accidentally hit pin. So let me hit spotlight. There we go. Okay. So that's using chips.
Yeah, chips,
Yep.
amethyst chips and head pins.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Okay, so who else? Now, Joan Goring, were you able to be able to show us what you're up to, or shall we wait for another week?
I made a necklace, but for some reason I can't get my video going, and it's not something, you didn't turn it off, did you, by any chance?
I don't think so. I don't think I can.
Okay, I don't know then. I'll have to fiddle with it.
Okay. Okay, we'll include it in next week's show and share then.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Good. Okay. No, I really want to see it. So have we seen everybody's who's able to do a show and share? Jennifer, I'm looking forward. Are you able to show and share? Do you have anything you've been?
No, just lots of observation, and I've got my to-do list. Once I have a bit more information from you.
Perfect.
I'll
Okay,
share something next week for sure.
Perfect. Chloe, do you have anything you'd like to show and share?
She's muted. There she is.
Yeah. I already said that I was going to share with you the next.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Good memory, just really short. Really short. Okay. Have I missed anybody?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Can you mix stone and pearls?
Yes. You can mix anything.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I just didn't know if, because pearls tend to be a little bit softer. I didn't know if it would wear on it. And whether you needed something to separate them, like a spacer.
You can put little spacers between them, like you could put a little seed bead or something like that in between them, and that will help act like a knot.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you can certainly mix anything. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
I asked you before for wrapping loop.
Yes, the wrap loops. Okay.
Yeah, wrap loop.
Yeah. Thank you for a reminder. Okay, so let me hold on. Let me just write down Chloe's phone number here. Thank you, Chloe. 43736. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so let me go back to sharing here. Okay, and there. Okay, so back to here. Let me grab some thinner, quiet Indy. Okay, so I've got some fine head pins here. Pull one out, and I'm going to add just a little bead at the bottom because these tend to be very fine, the ends, and beads will go through them. So it's just a little handy dandy thing that if you find your wire head pin doesn't go into it like that, if you put a little bit of a bead on it, I've got some beads over here, quiet into here. There's some seed beads. A few out. So I'm going to put a bead on top of it on here, and that will act just so it doesn't fall out. Okay, so that's a handy thing to know. And I'll put a bead on the other side because it is a fairly big hole there. Okay, so a wrapped loop is great if you're doing something with fine wire. For that, you will need round nose pliers, something to grasp it with, and eventually you will need a wire cutter to trim off the excess wire. So I'm going to take my pliers, my round nose pliers, and hold it at the end because I need a little bit of space where the wire is going to wrap. So I'm going to press it so that I get a nice sharp 90-degree angle like that. So my pliers were like this. I'm going to now turn them so that the jaws are sitting side by side, and I'm nestling it up as close as possible to that bend. Okay, so the wires are actually against the part that's not sticking through the wire. So I'm going to take my fingers and move this. I'll move it down a little bit just to make a smaller loop over the top. And I'm pressing it right against the pliers. I'm going to turn my pliers around so that the wire is around the lower jaw. And I'm going to take this around the lower jaw like that. When I take it out, there is my loop. It's not centered, but that's okay because I'm going to put my pliers back in and just roll them so that my loop is now centered, just like that. And I can straighten this out. So that's ready now. I can wrap this portion of the wire around the part that's coming through the bead. To do that, I'm going to grab the loop with a pair of grasping pliers. I want to make sure that I can see where it crosses though. And to give me a little bit of control, I'm going to use my round nose pliers at the other end instead of my fingers. And I'm just going to very simply wrap this around the part of the wire that's coming through the bead, ideally so that it sits one on top of another like that. So that is a wrapped loop. I don't need all of this wire now. I've just wrapped it a couple of times. I'm going to trim it. Again, don't let the wire fly all over the place. I have now created something that can be used as an earring. So let me grab an earring finding here. I cannot open this loop. It is wrapped closed. So I'm going to grab my earring finding, grabbing the part that is not going, the wire that is not going through the bead, bringing one part toward me, one part away. So it's a hook. That's on. And I close it up again. There is an earring that matches my necklace. So let's do it again.
Very nice.
Thank you. So I've got again, a fine wire head pin. I'm going to put my seed bead on it. That's going to act like a little stopper. Grab another one of these. Grab another one that'll help fill in that hole. Okay, again, with my round nose pliers, I'm just going to hold it at the end and give it a really sharp bend. I'm now going to grasp the stem part, the part that's not part going through. And again, you can mark on here where you want your loops to be. So over the top, flip my pliers around so they're along the bottom jaw and underneath. I pull it out. That's pretty centered. I'm happy with that. If it wasn't centered, I could roll it and straighten it and, make it the way I want it. Again, to wrap it, I'm going to grasp the loop with my other pliers. It could be chain nose that you're using or flat nose. I'm using the bent nose. I'm grabbing the other end of the wire with my round nose pliers, and that's to give me a little bit more control. And I'm simply going to wrap like that.
Okay, well, this is almost finished. In fact,
Yep.
it's over time.
Yep, I'm almost done there. Don't worry. Okay,
So
now I could put that onto the end of it, onto chain, and that could be a pendant. However, let's finish up the earrings. On this pair, it's the outside of the loop. So I'm going to grab it, open it up like a hook. There's my earrings. You can do that with any bead. You can do that with any stone, any pearl, anything. If I wanted to use a heavier gauge wire instead of the fine, I wouldn't do a wrap loop. I would do a simple loop, only because it's easier and the heavier gauge wire will hold it better. So that is how to do wrap loops and a matching earring for the previous piece of jewelry that I made. Okay. I'm going to
Thank you,
stop.
Pam.
You're welcome. I'm just going to stop recording.